Hello and welcome to Masters of the Deal, the podcast where we uncover the personal stories behind billion-dollar deal makers. As the region head for Ideals VDR, I help deal makers close their transactions faster with our virtual data rooms. Over the past 2 decades, I've got to know many of them personally and professionally. So I take this opportunity to tease out how they got to the top. Join me and learn what it takes to become a master of the deal.
I started my journey with pharmaceuticals. I think I started with Panisha Biotech, and it was at that point of time India's leading pharma/vaccine company. Um, and my role was predominantly into treasury and finance. I was raising money for the company, doing foreign currency convertibles, merger and acquisitions, a bit of strategy, but more finance-driven role. And it was something which was pretty exciting at that point of time. My first job, already raising $100 million in foreign currency, is quite exciting. Um, but that transition, typically, if you see in industry parlance, chemical, pharmaceutical, what we call sister industries, one is the raw material to the other finished goods. So your transition becomes smooth so far as the portfolio alignment is concerned. You understand the nuances of chemistry, you understand the formulation of doses. So to broader ecosystem wise, it's a smoother transition if you're working across these two industry. Similarly, you can look at food and ingredient. This is somewhere Jubilant was also present. You look at flavor and fragrance, nutrition. Now, if you bundle up these 3 4 industry, you are actually hovering in a same ecosystem, Harsh. And that actually makes overall transit. And somehow my role was, to some extent, was more developing the company into something new. If I look at my entire journey of 19, 20 years, almost $1 billion under the bucket. Various means, organic growth, inorganic growth, partnership and alliances. And what was more exciting that even though if you see at an umbrella level, they all look like chemical/pharmaceutical company, the portfolio were completely different. And these are the kind of industries where you need to continue to upgrade yourself. It's not an industry where you come with a prior knowledge and you feel you're going to crack it.
2 years down the line, the entire syndication practice came to me because I was focused. For them, it's a side income. At that time, I had to read through. I didn't know what asset is, what liabilities. I'm an engineer. I'm not a finance graduate. Neither am I MBA. So I had no inhibitions of learning from the ground level, right? Learning right from the learning stage. So it's just to get books. They was used to publish on Nabi publication, how to prepare project report, how to read balance sheet, how to write credit debit balance, what is asset, what is depreciation. Every single thing I had to read, grasp, and understand. And then I realized, though, it's not that difficult because I come from mathematics background, and
So
I and I
in a way, you kind of did what Elon Musk did with building his rockets. He just read books and he consumed all this information, and he said he self-taught himself. Right? Where there's a will,
that's
there's a
what it
way,
is.
and
So
he.
when you do a medical or commerce or IS, whatever, what do you do? You have to read. The
Correct.
difference is when you read with the objective to get past clarity examination is very short term vision. All said and done, as engineers, we are taught one thing, that find problem solution within the problem and be analytical. And there's a that engineering mindset allow us to think very methodically. There is no problem which doesn't have any solution.
So I have a interesting story here. While I was doing my MBA, like everybody else, very fascinated with project financing and non-recourse financing, and wanted to get into that area. And I was fortunate that I got a job with CRISIL, so I did that. And then after CRISIL, I spent about 1.5 years in CRISIL, and then I joined ICICI Bank Project Finance. So from advisory, then got into lending, 2 projects, and these 2 jobs, made me, very happy. I thought I've found my dream job of project finance. But then, amongst other projects, I was working on Dabol Power Company. This was a project promoted by Enron Corporation, which later on went bankrupt from US.
Yeah.
So I was working on Dabol Power, and again, it was a prestigious project that time. So I started working on it in ICCI. And then Enron became stressed, and Double Power Company became stressed. And then I was transferred to another group within ICCI called SAMG, Special Assets Management Group. So this group was formed to work on stressed legacy NPAs, stressed assets of ICCI Bank, and to resolve them. So I was transferred from project finance department to SAMG along with Double Power Company, and I definitely resented the move that time. I thought I wanted to do project finance, and now here I am moving to a group to resolve stressed assets. So that time I resented it, but then maybe it was a blessing in disguise because I really love the deal making style of stressed assets resolution in SAMG, and got fantastic experience. Worked with some really good set of people.
So I sort of experimented a lot with my with what I wanted to do, and the only good thing that was there is I used to read a lot of newspapers at that point of time. Okay, because that was one of the ways to understand, what's going on in the world, especially those times. I'm talking about late 90s. Okay, uh, I could see that people were talking about, MBA as a next thing in the world. And though people were also talking about that you need to be a little differentiated in what you're doing. So, I mean, it was quite late in the day that I realized that I needed to do something like that. So basically, I just appeared for one of the colleges that I thought is a good choice, given that they were talking about doing a combination of CFA and an MBA together. Okay. So I joined in ICFI Hyderabad and sort of finished a 2 years course and joined the industry in Bombay. The second thing that came out of those newspaper articles was that I was very clear that I wanted to join somewhere in Bombay, because Bombay was supposedly the commercial capital of India, and most of the finance-related jobs were here in the city. So I thought it's a good idea to finish off an MBA and join somewhere in Bombay and figure out, the path going forward from there.
Then you wonder, is this insight because of this guy or because he's run it through an AI model?
Frankly, I don't care because we're always starved of time, and we have multiple things going on. And if somebody is able to use 30 kinds of technologies to save himself 24 hours, and then of course not keep that time to himself, but sort of crunch time for the firm, which allows the firm to then have more bandwidth, it's a good thing, right? So I suspect that we would welcome the use of AI to the extent it allows research work, repetitive tasks, all of that to become more efficient or shorter. I think what we are concerned about is, of course, then the proprietariness of consumer client information, proprietary information going out into the ChatGPT ecosystem or the Claude ecosystem. That worry still remains, right? So I think I don't think any bank has a great answer to that, but I think everybody will have to find their meeting point as to what AI can do for them and what they cannot let AI do for them, right? I think in general, if it helps efficiency across the junior level ranks, it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. I think nationally, I have another point of view here. I think like all other businesses, we also have to respect that India, the quality of data generally sucks, right? I mean, and not just in investment banking, in any field in India. Quality of data, look at healthcare data, right? You just have a longer history of data of higher quality in the US, for example, or in Europe. So the AI gets to work off a longer track record of data and a higher quality of data. That just allows them to get up to speed on the way they use the AI outputs a little bit faster.
And I'm amazed the way it has captured the imagination of users. I mean, I always tell people that it took more than 500 years to replace horses to the car, and after that, look at where we are in. So I always see AI as an enabler. It's just that there is a fear of catch up. I personally, I believe that my pace of learning can be a little more to just get hold of what is going on. And as a professional, I never taken a change as a threat. Change is always a disruptor, but when I look at, I don't attach it to my existence, because the day I attach a change in a world of business to my existence, I will start fearing about it, and I will not do justice by learning it. I'll become quite uh, uncomfortable in terms of adopting those changes. So I see it an opportunity.
Has AI helped you think better? I mean, are you able to make your mental RAM and the constraint you have echo out and really expand it, given the technology which has now come to us and is available? Does it help you ask better questions?
Yes, but I would say we are still in early stage of making the best use of AI. It certainly helps, right? It helps you in a quick understanding, in a limited time span that you have. If you ask the right questions, you get good response, good analysis which you can use. But at least for me personally, I would say it's an early stage. If you ask me what's one thing that you would really like to learn, I would say that would be making the best possible use of AI, because I think it's a great tool. It's up to us to adopt it, and that's one thing we keep on discussing internally. I mean, very recently we had our deal advisory partners conference, and that's one of the key items on the agenda in terms of how do we use technology to make our work quality better, how to be more efficient. I think it's a great tool. It's up to us, all of us, to adopt it and learn. Because clearly, right, you bring years of experience of deals as deal professionals, and here is a tool which can give you almost real time analysis, can basically take away all your leverage job, honestly, and then gives you time to think beyond numbers. Understand the room, understand what are the other drivers, and really focus. So it's a perfect marriage.
How is AI changing my business? If it's a BPO player, they ask us, how is AI going to cannibalize my business? What can I do to be ready in future for this? How can I, adapt against that? And to be able to advise on these aspects, it's important to understand that what goes into these AI solutions. AI as a landscape is evolving almost every month, if I may say. You can follow Chat GPT, and they release everything, anything and everything every month. And then there are a host of other solutions coming up. So generative AI is one aspect, but then at the back end, how can we use AI to automate, simplify some of the business processes? So these are the questions that we were getting quite a lot, and that's the reason where we felt that we need to invest in a capability which focuses on answering some of these aspects, and also advising clients that how should they go about adopting AI for their organization. In today's world, most of the organizations, uh, they either they have invested in a smaller solution, uh, something related to AI, to be part of that AI journey, but in many cases they're not sure how this AI adoption should happen. How should I go about inculcating these into my value chains in the organization? So where we come in and we help is, we understand the value chain of a business, but where would it make sense, where would it give you the best ROI if you were to invest in an AI based technology for your business? How much would it cost, right? So these are some of the questions which we are helping clients with, which is more on the AI strategy bit.
Never seller, we are a creator of buying interest. And maybe we are the only firm, so to say, they were more buy side minded than sell side. At Singi, we are known for hunters or the buying advisor, because we try to create the balance of buying and selling. Now, does it mean that we don't get the good valuation? Yes, we do get good valuation. What is a good valuation? At a price at which the buyer makes more money than the seller, or make more production than the seller, or eliminate competition at the right price. The risk adjusted value is a market driven, right? Now, if the buyer is not giving the right price, the second buyer will be there. But then extracting value as a commission or a broker is where like a running a process. It doesn't work in many of the cases. In a hot market or some tech sector, it can happen. Okay, set a bid, send a bid, send a bid. I have seen many processes failing the last moment because once one party withdraws, others also withdraw. The FOMO doesn't work all the time. So we rather create a bilateral situation.
You've been such an entrepreneur for almost a decade in DCM, Sriram. What is it that allows people to trust you?
Transparency. Transparency not only in terms of informing or telling what is right or wrong, but also explaining that even if goes wrong, how it can be dealt with and what are the pitfall in the journey. A lot of time when we are doing good in our career, we are scared, we become scared of failures. And when failure happen out of the after 9 success, when one failure happen, we tend to balance it out by using all our experiences that, hey, it's manageable, when deep down in our thought we may not think it can be managed. So transparency for me is the most important thing while I'm negotiating and talking. And the idea is to keep the executive board or the senior management updated that, hey, we are in this journey of negotiation. These are the scenes which are emerging leading to these consequences, and keep getting the constant buy-ins. Merger and acquisitions are quite tricky because there are people involved and there are egos involved. And if you're not getting a constant buy-ins through a transparent mean, you'll get stuck. At least what we follow in our peer group, that, hey, make sure the bad news travel fast, good news we all take care of it. So that's how we do it. And I think a lot of credit goes to DCM as an organization. The ethics of this group is so high that we appreciate a transparent conversation which could be uncomfortable. We may have our debate and disagreements during the conversation, and once tempo settles down, then everybody's on board. Fair enough, let's get it done. That eases off the burden. Hush, that's how I look at it.
Getting the mandate piece, which is typically from the sell side. Okay.
Correct.
What works beautifully is one, having that relationship, that comfort already there. Okay. Doesn't mean that you're going to get it. Okay. But at least that gives you that additional comfort with the founders and the senior management team, whoever is deciding your mandate. Second is, what is the value that you are bringing to the table? Is it that you created that idea? Okay. You initiated that idea. Okay. Is it that somebody has already decided that they want to raise X amount of capital and there is a beauty parade going on, right? Okay. So it depends on what you really bring to the table, what sort of credibility you are bringing to the table in that subsector of your choice. Okay. What kind of transactions has it been recent enough? You're bringing in some sort of a differentiated advice, etc., etc. Okay. So those are the things that come to the fore. Okay. Fourth is obviously, assumption is that whatever you're advising your client, you develop your trust. You are truthful, largely, right? I mean, obviously you can't talk about everything, but at least you're largely truthful with your clients. So I think if those 3 or 4 basic tenets are in place, then obviously you can bid for a higher percentage. The challenge is when there is a beauty parade going on, right? Then you'll have to be prepared to lose or to undercut. Okay, both.
But has there been any lessons which have totally stayed with you, which you've used then for the other deals that you worked on?
Well, certainly, I would say a couple of them. One obviously is devil lies in the detail. You need to roll up your sleeves and go in depth. Just looking at high level doesn't work. You really need to go deep inside any problem to pick up, and that's where you'll start. So I think that is one thing where we try and do is really go deep inside, understand it completely. A second important part, I would say, is cross collaboration. Uh, as financial advisors, you basically uh, trying to really, you're no longer just financial advisors, I would say. You really need to understand business. You look at yourself as probably a temporary COs, right? Uh, Try and understand the business, and as if you were to build this, how will it look? I think that's a lesson that has shown that it's just not financial advisory. You really need to be business architects, really need to understand the business to come up with a plan which will really work. And I think one another important lesson that I've learned from that deal is it is not about perfection, right? It is about building something which is reliable, which is trustworthy, right? So in a carve out, everyone knows it's messy, right? No one, I mean, even the buyer knows that you're not going to get it perfect. But are you able to give something which is reliable, which is logical, and which will stand the test of scrutiny, right?
So you became an entrepreneur at what age? At 2020, you were how old?
Yeah, so I was 47.
Okay. And how did it feel to be an entrepreneur versus working in entrepreneurial positions inside, big institutions?
I think the challenges are bigger. For one, you need to look after your cash flow very, very carefully, especially in the beginning, almost on a daily basis. Number two, I think you have bigger responsibility towards the team when you are on your own. So I think that's bigger. Number three is with every deal that you close or every good relationships that you crack, you are contributing somewhere to building a brand. So that's very very satisfying.
More satisfying than doing the deal with an ICICI?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because ICCI you can do things at bigger scale, right? ICCI brand name is so good. You walk into a meeting and you'll be given attention. But here you have to literally start from scratch. Your ICCI background does not matter. What you bring to the table matters.
Most of my friends said who got into investment banking, their thing was, okay, I'm going to make a ton of money for 2 years and then I will exit. Some of them never exit, and some of them don't last 2 years, right? What you are saying is a balance which makes sense. We also saw an open letter to Goldman Sachs, I think this year, last year, talking about the culture of being overworked. Is this changing in the industry? You must have grinded it out as well. I mean, do you see a change which is more healthy for the business? Because this notion that you got to be sleeping under the desk to do your dues, I'm sure it doesn't bring out brilliance.
No, I think no, fair points. I would sort of make three, four observations. Right. Number one, I think if let's think of it rationally, right? Just purely from a financial owner of the firm perspective, are you better served by churning over your talent in every 18 months and finding a fresh crop of guys, or are you better served by somebody staying a decade, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years with you? Which one do you think is more valuable? Running through six analysts in 2 years, or a couple of them staying with you for a decade? Which one do you think is more valuable for the firm? I think you'll agree with me the second one is more valuable for the firm. Right?
Correct.
So naturally, if you really want to do it for a long time, I think it's incumbent not just on the firm but also on the individual to figure out a schedule where boundaries are set and met. For example, if anybody in the team comes and says that, listen, I need these 2 hours off for XYZ, right? Kids, parent teacher meeting, what have you, or I need to travel these communities. We don't even blink an eye, right? We are concerned with outputs, not necessarily where they're physically located or how they're managing their 24 hours.
You've done a lot of deals now. In fact, I'd say that nobody can follow your career path because it's been so unique to you, right? Your interest, how you jumped from uh, being a system administrator to doing M&A to enjoying that process and going into EY because they did so many transactions. So it's very unique, and the positions are also very interesting. Anyone who wants to emulate you today, what advice would you give? What would you say to someone who wants to get to where you are?
I think it's not that I sort of followed a path in a consciously. I think it's what I would just suggest anyone who's starting on is don't be afraid to experiment, because uh, if you try new things, that gives you more experiences that help you in your life, and you never know which experience helps you in what stage of your life. So don't be afraid to experiment, try out new things. uh, and secondly, I think be curious and follow your heart. If you feel that and if there's an area which is of interest or a developing interest, then pick it up and go for it. I think that should be the mantra of going forward. No science behind it.
Is there anything you haven't yet achieved personally or professionally that you still want to? Anything in your bucket list?
Oh yeah, I'm working on my book, and I'm the only I would say unlucky guy who has a lot of friends who are publishers, who's been motivating me to finish and write, and I'm the one who is not writing. A lot of people have struggled to get it published. I have a struggle to get it finished. So yeah, I've been working on it for last 2 to 3 years. Hopefully get it rolled out sometime next year.
If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Very interesting one. Probably, I don't know, since I have stayed, as I said, I stayed in Maharashtra, near Raigad district. I don't know if you've heard about the great Maratha king Shivaji Maharaj during 17th century. Now, he had very limited resources, right? He was kind of with war with mighty Mughals at that point of time. But he was a master of guerrilla warfare, right? He used the terrain to his advantage, used great intelligence networks, had very precise attacks. So if I would, I mean, this is obviously a hypothetical one. If I were to get an opportunity, I would say, how did you manage to think out of the box every time and when? That's a difficult task, right?
Health, wealth, relationship, purpose. How would you rank these in terms of priority?
I think relationship would be on top. Wealth would, it's a cliche, but would come the last. We all have what we need to have a decent living. More wouldn't make us happier. So wealth would come the last. I would say relationship, and health is important, but I've still not reached a stage where I give super importance to health. Uh, Kind of work always comes ahead, but work and health together, and then the wealth. Yeah.
So I think that's success for me. I don't define it very materially that okay, I need to have 100 crore, or I need to have closed $1 billion transaction or a $2 billion transaction. I don't look at it from that perspective. It will happen if it has to happen, as long as I'm doing my job right. That's it. No, nothing beyond that.
So you kind of validated another thing, I believe, which is you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Now you can pull that to your network, and if you're around brilliant people, from what I understand, you're saying that not only are you absorbing their talent, their way of thinking, but it's also shaping you. Would I be correct to say that?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%.
But we always say that if you lose, don't worry. There's a better thing to come out of it. We like to take people to take risk on themselves, risk on the organization, risk on city, but with the support that the organization is always behind them. We are not with them, we are behind them. Because we are with them, we have to run with them. Someone will always imbalance, but we are behind them. They can always take a front seat.
How do you define success?
No, far from it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether that's a goal one is chasing, actually. I guess I'll come back to what you said, right? As long as you feel that you have done the input variables right and you've done a little bit of mastery in your craft, that's all one can hope for, right? Because as you become, the higher you go up the food chain, I think you realize the lesser is in your hands, right? The world is a very dynamic place. And look, we can do all the inputs we want, but we can end up with making zero in a year, right? So one just has to respect that there are forces far beyond your control, and that happens, right? And look, every investment bank is fairly standard idiom on this, right? The world's greatest investment bankers will inevitably have 1.5 bad years out of 5. It's not because they were bad or they gave the wrong advice, or it's just the variables and the macro in the world, in your economy, in that sector, in your client base at that point in time.
If you could magically have a genie and master any skill overnight, what would it be?
I would say, ability to do, be a data scientist and be able to run all the, permutation combinations in my head and give out an answer, without thinking much. So like an AI inside my head.